Hello and welcome to Literary Gladiators, a show where we discuss and debate literature in all its forms. If it's written work, it's fair game. Let's meet the panel, starting with our head panelist for this discussion, Tara.
I am Tara.
I'm Cyndi.
I'm Dominica.
And I'm Larry. So Tara, I believe that you have a letter from Josh there. This is an inaugural episode.
It says, Dear Tara, thank you for taking on the role as the head panelist for season 17 premiere of Literary Galleries. I would have loved to have kicked off the season with everyone, but with a heavy reading load in addition to the fact that I am beginning to revisit the novel I stand pre-writing in 2021, my bad, that's a long time ago. I felt it would be better to sit out for this discussion, but I will be back for the remaining episodes of this season, God willing. Please send my thanks to Dominica for making her return to this season. I know much she wanted to discuss A Wrinkle in Time. I also want to thank Larry for hopping on board for this discussion, and Cyndi because she is amazing. Please remind everyone season 17 of Literary Galleries will be special in how we are revisiting works that we discussed in previous seasons, allowing for new and fresh perspectives on works that we have covered before. This is bound to be a fun, exciting, and insightful season. I hope you have a great time discussing A Wrinkle in Time by, I don't know how to say the name of the author, Madeleine. It's French, maybe. I don't know how to say the last name. Leguin. And we'll be back to next episode. Josh. P.S. Make sure Larry stays in shot. And P.P.S. Cyndi is the discussion starter for this season. Alright.
Okay.
Okay.
What's your starter question?
When I was reading this, I've always loved this one. One of the things I love about this is it's actually as old as I am. Which is one of the reasons I love it so well. So we grew up together, the book and I. But one of the questions that I wanted to start with, let me see, I took some notes. The novel talks about both science and faith, and so my question is, actually I have two. What does the novel suggest about the balance between faith and science, and do you think the two can coexist in the real world as they do in the story? That's one. And the other one is, how do Mrs. Who and Mrs. Which serve as metaphors for the different aspects of the universe?
Okay, well, I mean, the first question, I would say that the book is very good, I think, at kind of uniting these two concepts of faith and science. I'm not too thrilled with all of the science part of it. I find it a little bit like pop science, kind of
out of my league.
Nah, not that.
For me, Tesseracts and all that fun.
Yeah, I never heard of a Tesseract. Yeah. Well, actually, from the Marvel movies, I know about it. Right. I heard about a Tesseract before, because this was the first time I read it. Mm-hmm. I've never read this book before, but the idea that faith and science need to be balanced together, I don't really believe that's true. I think that both can coexist perfectly fine. In fact, the premises of science kind of rely on a world that is predictable and designed and can be understood, which makes sense if it's designed by a creator, because otherwise you would expect pure chaos and nothing to be able to be derived from the natural world if it wasn't designed. So I don't have a problem with that at all, and I think that the book does a good job of marrying the two, and I find that to be good.
What I got more out of it personally was just the relationships between all the characters. That tends to be why I read books more, like the sibling relationship between Meg and Charles. I like Meg's relationship with Calvin. I have personally read all the books about their children. I believe they have like 8 children or something together. And like that's what I cared more about than the science-y kind of details, whatever. I mean, they're very far-fetched stories. So if you can kind of wrap your head around not taking into that so much, then for me the story was more enjoyable because it went way over my head with some things, and I kind of had to ignore it for the sake of actually enjoying it.
Totally agree with you, Dominica.
Yeah.
I think that the strength of the story is definitely in those relationships.
Yes.
And I think that it does a really good job of capturing, the kind of tight-knit family unit that they represent, and that I associate with my mother, who's Irish also. They had an Irish last name in this story, and I found that to be the main character to be very much like my mother, and she reminded me a lot of my mom reading it. So I was quite moved by that. And she lost her father. He died when she was very young, about 14 years old. So I can see how her and it's Meg, right? Yeah, her and Meg are very similar, and I think that the author really captured that kind of a person who has that kind of loss and that kind of fierce loyalty to the people that she loves with Meg, and I thought that was really very well captured.
I was first introduced to this book in elementary school because it was in a raffle and nobody else put their tickets into it for this book and A Swiftly Tilting Planet, and I was the only one. It actually skipped this book, and it was A Wind in the Door, which is the second one, and A Swiftly Tilting Planet, which is the third one. So after I won those, because nobody else put their ticket in, I actually had to buy this one, and I read them all. And I was younger, so even at that age, you can imagine how much harder that was for me to understand. And even as an adult, I read it, and I'm like, I just have to take it with a grain of salt. This one was much easier to understand than the other books that pertain with the twin brothers and when they go off into other worlds and meet gods, and it was just really confusing. So this one's much more tame, but it's still what a lot of it was like, okay, kind of gonna keep going, I'm in it for other things. So
Yeah, this book, when I was a little kid, I remember this was a big deal. When I was in the early 80s, this book was a huge deal. And everybody, we would have seminars about it in the library and all kinds of things like that. So I know it's got a really strong, really loyal audience.
And the two different movie renditions that were made of it, an older version of it, and then the newer one, I believe, like Oprah Winfrey directed it or something, and the cast was completely different. I watched both of them, and the second one, I feel, explained the story a little bit easier. So even though it was more disloyal to representing the characters, it told the story in a much more understandable kind of method. So if you read this book and you're like, what the heck did I just read? I do recommend watching the second release of the movie, but not because it's more accurate than the first. I mean, the first had its own issues too, but it made the story much more enjoyable. And then when I do go back, and I reread this, I'm like, I get it now. So it is definitely helpful.
I like the fact that how the story describes her relationship with her father being missing, and then when she finally goes and saves her father, she realizes her father is just a man. He's not here to take up the mantle of save. She has to learn that she needs to step up and take the reins and use her own strength to win over this brain and to take back her brother. And I like that message. I'm even getting goosebumps again.
Yeah, it's a very relatable thing. I think everybody goes to that moment where you realize that your father is not like an infallible Superman, but he's just a human, just a person, a flawed human being, like all of us. So, and it's a scary moment. And I think Meg's response to that is very natural and believable.
Like you said, relatable.
Yeah. And
then my favorite part of the book is when they meet those aliens.
Which ones?
The ones where they're away from the main three, and they underground where it's dark. They don't need light.
The ones that can't talk or they can't see.
They can't see. And,
that's right.
And that whole aspect was really cool.
And like Aunt Beast.
And how she just like
Aunt Beast, yeah.
And how she couldn't move because the coldness of like the time travel. I guess she had. This must be really cold in space.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what Elton John said.
So, but I like that aspect, how that made her realize how strong she actually was, and I don't think she might have would have came to the conclusion, but meeting those people helped her move forward in her personal journey as a character.
Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but I really identified with Meg. I mean, as a kid, and even now, she's in a lot of ways. She felt like a misfit, and she felt like she didn't fit in. And for most of my life, that's pretty much been me. I mean,
Comparing herself to her mother all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I never really compared myself to my mother, but I thought everything else.
Yeah, I probably relate more to Calvin with it. Might be because I'm a male.
Why, you're not
Well,
like
doesn't
self-conscious about your wavy hair?
Yeah.
I mean, emotionals. I think both people, doesn't matter the gender. I think if you feel emotional, I mean, like both genders can, or any gender, what you are, you can feel what it's like to be to feel othered, and to feel left out, to be pushed, like not fit in school, and even like it makes you think. Like you remember, like when you're in school, the kids were acting up, and then until much later you realize, oh, that's probably why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess.
But then something, happens in her life that, turns her life to a different direction and realizes that there's more out there than, how you're feeling and what's going on with you. There's a higher power at work, and to focus on that will take you away from, being inside yourself and your thoughts and all those issues.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I was a kid reading the story, I thought, these three women were angels. But I don't know what kind of celestial beings you would think they were. But I mean, I thought they were angels, especially when Mrs. Who starts talking basically gobbledygook, philosophical one minute, metaphor another, and then from the Bible at points, it's like, can you find your own voice, please?
They probably like try to be like other being. That's what I thought of them being other, and that they're in the form, like even they explained, like they're in the form that we can understand, and that's how I use it, as like they're a being that we can't put fandom to. So they're just in our minds, like in their. I think they're in their minds what they could see them as. So
and that's how angels are as well. So
yeah,
Sure.
They could be angels.
Yeah, maybe.
That does. That goes with along with the idea. It doesn't refute that idea that it could be angels. Yeah, good story though. My favorite part was actually really early on. I liked when Meg made the friend with Calvin. Like,
that was my favorite part too.
That was like, man, that really made me want to keep going. I was like, wow, this is really great. The way that, because she's so closed off from the outside world, and then doesn't have any friends, besides her family, and then when he breaks through and is able to befriend her, it's such a great moment. So, and a very, tear jerking in a way too. So it was good. That was my favorite part.
I like getting spoiled in books when it comes to there being sequels, and I'm like, I'll be reading the first 10 pages, but I'll already have in the back of my mind, like, I know that you get married. I know you hate him right now, but just wait. You're going to have like 5 kids, and you're going to be happily married, and, your adventures are not even beginning yet, so just hold on there. And so that always keeps me going. When I knew that, I couldn't wait to reread this book like the second time. It made me happy. Even seeing the movies, I was like, you just wait, Meg. you just wait.
I've got to read the rest of the series. I have it.
Well, there's their Time Quintet, and then there's a trilogy that comes after that's about their daughter Polly, and then there's another quintet that goes after it. That's the Austen family. So there's a quintet plus 3 more plus another 5.
Oh my god!
So there's a lot. I've never read the Austen one, the Austen family, but I read all 5 of the quintet and the 3 about their daughter, and the other. There's somebody else. There's basically 2 about the daughter, and then 1 about somebody else. But like they all know Polly. So. It's good though. It's different, but it's really good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Me too.
It really is. It's a wild ride.
Yeah.
That's an understatement, but if you could just hang in there and take it for what it is, you'll find that you're actually enjoying it.
Yeah, you can like find things that are pertain to you, like how you feel. So, what do you think that love covers all? Because at the end, Charles Rouse overcame the brain as with love, and that being that darkness. What do you think that darkness is? Was it like just the pit of like this? Not the darkness, because you can find light in darkness. You can be in the dark, but like it could be positive. This darkness was totally something different from the brain. So why do you think the author chose brain, and how do you guys feel about love conquering?
Well, yeah, it's love is God, and God is love. So to me, that is what you need. You need God in order to be free. So that the brain is imprisoning these people and making these people all do whatever the brain wants, and they have no will of their own, no ability to think for themselves or do anything, because they don't have the freedom of love or God. So that's what
your flesh becomes your own prison, your thoughts, and it can stem back to the beginning of the book, like I said, when Meg is overcome with her physical features and how she talks and how she acts and how she has no friends, and that's all her, and has nothing to do with love. And so for me, Charles Wallace finding out, like, beating, this brain and this darkness with love, it can be brought all the way back to the beginning, where it's got nothing to do with you. It has to do with that love, or in this case with God and with Jesus, and it all goes back to that. And you can beat anything if that is your source. But when your source is yourself, it takes you to all those bad places that Meg was personally in and suffering and bleeding into other aspects of her life.
Mm-hmm. And you become a slave of your own vices.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think that's what is represented there. Like a plaything of the devil is what you kind of become unwittingly when you try to make it on your own without.
And all those weird, unexplained places that they would go. It's like none of those places exist, and they're like morphed, kind of messed up versions of people's nightmares and stuff. And where else, like, God would ever create something like that? At least I would think that he wouldn't. And so they're like representations maybe of what you're creating yourself, or what's in your nightmares for them to go through in order just to get Charles back and all that.
That's right.
And they were, it makes me think of how in a society, any society, you can choose what seems to be, I guess, the social construct, the community, and by doing so you can put yourself at risk of losing your individuality, which is an important message throughout the book.
Yeah, and it is about identity in that sense. Like each of us has our own unique relationship with the Almighty, so that you can't do it for somebody else, and you can't really, it's a unique relationship that everybody has that you can't live for them, or nobody can live it for you. You have to live it yourself.
Light, but you can't do the work.
Right, exactly.
You know what's funny? When I was reading this as a kid, I didn't even realize, maybe wasn't impacted by it, but I mean, grew up in the church and all, but reading the book, I didn't really realize the religious messages as much as this last time.
Mm. Yeah, there's a lot
amazing.
of Bible verses quoted throughout and everything, so yeah, it's really wonderful. Really wonderful.
So, what's everyone's big takeaway?
My big takeaway from the story would be that, without God, I think we see this in our own society. That would be it. Without God, you're lost, and you don't have any true freedom to live your life to the best of its capabilities.
I would probably just say, love will accomplish everything. Charles is, the youngest in the entire cast, and he figured it out. And, that's a good message to give to anybody of any age, that you don't need to be a certain age to figure this out. And by saving everybody with the same power that we all need, you can leave, you shut the book at the end and take that with you. You don't have to leave it behind, the closed book when you put it back on the shelf.
And my takeaway probably was that no matter what, you want to retain your individuality. Because you're not you. Who else will be?
And my big takeaway is something that's truly dark, truly evil, does not know how to love, and that we're the lucky ones that come up. Because just imagine, some, even though it's a disorder, just imagine being a sociopath and not knowing what that feels like. Mm. And they can't help that, especially if they start young and do what they need to do. They still don't know what that feels like. So what's everyone's rating?
I would go 3.5 for me. I really like this story a lot, but I was a little bit annoyed by the pop science-y kind of aspect of it. That kind of just, I can't put it into words exactly what I mean, but there's this kind of presumptuous, it's a presumptuous kind of I guess worldview behind that doesn't map on a reality the way that I think is actually true. So that part of it, that when it gets into all the tesseracts and all these different worlds and all that kind of stuff, is all theoretical. It's not necessarily even proven, but it is acted as though it is certain.
Yeah, so acting like it's true. Yeah. I'm rating it a 4, but I have a lot of the same viewpoints and feelings toward it as Larry does. My only reason why it's up, 0.5 of a score is because I get excited when I read it because I know their future. I have read the book where Charles is older. I know how Meg and Calvin are as parents. I know I have all these things in the back of my mind. So when I'm rereading it, I get excited for them because it's like one of those dramatic ironies where you know more than your readers. And getting to see them at their journey from the beginning is exciting to me because I feel like I'm already their friend. And so maybe it's because I've read ahead and I know so much more that I get more more enjoyment maybe out of reading the beginning of this series because I feel like I know them already.
And I would give it a solid 4 too. It's well written and I enjoy the story thoroughly, but it's not quite out of the park.
It's between a 4 and a 3-star, around there. And I thought you had to really suspend your belief with this. Upon reread, my first read was actually a solid 4 stars, and then when I reread it, I saw the small nitpicky issues with it. Other than that, I think the writing was solid, and the messages are there. Even if you're not religious, you can find what you feel pertains to what your own religion. It's not just. There's some Bible stuff in there, but also people can get out of it their individual experiences.
Yeah, I enjoyed this book a whole lot before I even found Jesus. I enjoyed it, and so
the message is there without being preachy.
Yes, that's one thing I liked about it. It wasn't preachy, and if it was preachy, I would have never not even read it or reread it or came into this.
Yeah, that's what is good. When the work is good is when it can convey these kind of universal truths in a way that is not preachy and is more and is very subtle and is just like you're writing from a perspective that is grounded in reality.
Will reach people of all walks of life.
And therefore you can meet people where they are with it. Mm-hmm. That's right. Okay.
If you were so inclined to read it yourself, please enjoyed. That's the one of the covers. More famously, if you go use the library, that's the library copy that they have. If you feel so inclined, please like that like button and subscribe and hit that bell button if you want to hear more. Don't forget our Patreon, where if you like more content and like to support us, please join. And thank you for the panel and today's discussion, and have a wonderful day and keep on reading.